Okay, wonderful. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome again from last week, where we spoke about digital transformation. This was the thought behind was just to take this slightly forward, and this is where the whole brain and heart of a discussion on digital would lie, which is essentially to start with design thinking. And we were extremely lucky to have LC to speak on this because, as most of you already know him, with his thought leadership in this area, I think he'll be really sharing some extremely important insight. And I also welcome people who are, both are IMCI fraternity members plus people who are the other invited gentlemen or ladies. Welcome. Just to give you an idea of IMCI, it's part of the international consulting body, which is the only body which works around ensuring that a standard of management consulting practice is maintained worldwide. And we are part of the IMCI India chapter. And within this, our whole idea is to bring in consulting, which is to the best of global standards, keeping the ethics and the deliverable frameworks in mind. So that said, I would I'm very happy to invite LC to deliver his talk on digital transformation or sorry design thinking within the digital transformation overall thought process. So as most of you know, and he has been a very important part of IMCI in any case. Lately, obviously, we see him less in IMCI as much as we want to see him. He currently, with his interesting multiple head, as I've mentioned over the email that he wears, currently he started Nihilent as an organization which did exceedingly well over the years and now is one of the important design-led organization. And until very recently where entity took that over and LC still continues to look after some aspects and various aspects of the business to his passion on photography, which I'm sure he'll also speak about, and maybe a few slides where he shows us some of his skills there. To also film production that he did. So where multiple heads that he has wore so far. And also within design thinking, because I have been following this very closely because I saw that LC was one of the first few people that I know within, let's say, the circle who started speaking about design thinking as a methodology. So I think in that aspect, he was clearly one of the pioneer within the circle that I look at. So looking forward to his insights on this. A few ground rules here that we all need to take care of. I see that some of the microphones are still not on mute. While I can do mute all, but I would appreciate if all of you can moderate your own screens yourself. You can choose to keep your videos off for now. At the end of the session, when just about 5 minutes to the end of the session, we'll have a group photograph so all of you can come and switch on your video at that time. For Q&A, please feel free to post in the chat box. What we will do is the talk would go for around 55 minutes to 60 minutes. And in between, we'll pause for some Q&A, and then at the end of the session, we also take some questions, etc. Right? So that said, LC, all yours. Please take it up.
Thank you, Chandan. Always a pleasure and has been a pleasure to talk to all of you. I've been a part of IMCI for a very long time, I think now, almost 30 years. Can you hear me or need to be more loud?
This is good to me, I think.
Okay, all right. So there's a whole discussion around design thinking suddenly since last, I would say, 4 or 5 years. And the interaction design, the user experience, the customer voices, all that, we keep on hearing about now. And so what I'm going to touch upon essentially introduce you to the basic concepts of design thinking. And knowing very well, I think very well to point out here that it's generally a 3-day workshop. So I am merely touching just the headlines of some of the topics. So please bear with me, and we can certainly do a more detailed program much later. But this introductory lesson for you invoke interest so that you can start studying yourself. That's the intention for designing this module. So design thinking, what is the design thinking? Sorry?
One final request, if everyone else can go on mute, please.
Please, yeah. So design thinking is a human-centered and collaborative approach. So human-centered, essentially that you're dealing human to human, and there are complexities. In fact, almost any problem which involves humans becomes a problem, which is more complicated than one which is between machine and humans and so on. And also, if there are more humans, then it becomes a very complex societal problem. And if you want to solve a problem, then you need to have a different mindset. And the mindset has to be more holistic in nature. So design thinking is a human-centered collaborative approach to problem solving using a designed mindset. And mindset is essentially the one of understanding the stakeholders in that community for which you're going to solve the problem. So that is design thinking. Another important thing is design thinking is actually more of action than thinking. So there's a misnomer. Actually, design thinking is all about actions. So yes, I have included a few pictures of mine. And this is just to illustrate the living beings. The nature is the best designer, I would say. So the evolution process itself is not much different than what we are propagating through design thinking. Now, it doesn't happen in a day. It happens through iterations. And during those iterations, you may get just not one product, but many products. And that is the cycle now. So a lot of wastage, but a lot of beauties also will emerge from there. The tiger, which is also a national animal, what is special about it? Is one of the most curious. The cats are most curious animals. And that helps them to go on top of the food chain. The reason, because they're so curious, they understand every risk, every opportunity, every threat, and then they develop them. So the brain is so curious that it adopts and creates its own body to utilize and create a I would say competitiveness and capacity and capability to be able to deal with it. Now since it is able to deal, therefore they're on the top of the food chain now, and their body reflects their own thinking process, which you can see in their eyes. If you look at a tiger, you'll understand what I mean now. So that's the beauty of nature, creation, absolutely evolution. It's nothing but design thinking approach of the nature. There is another, so that's I would say a curiosity, example of curiosity, how it can lead to fantastic splendors in form of products as nature does in its own environment. There's another example I just want to show you of a tree. Now tree, this is eucalyptus tree. I don't know how much you know about eucalyptus tree, but it has a lot of specialities. If you know the Australian jungles, they have almost 75% of population of the jungles is eucalyptus trees. Now eucalyptus trees, the bark, they drop it every year almost at regular intervals. This is to cope up with all the insects and others which can harm it. They, kind of shave it off and get a new one. So that's one way of, regeneration. Second thing also, they create a very highly inflammable oil. And that inflammability is almost 5 times more than gasoline. And in the right time of the year, they spray it actually all over the jungle. So much so that if there is the slightest spark through the rubbing of, two woods, uh, there will be fire. And that's why you keep on hearing about the fire. So it's almost, you can say, almost instigated by the tree so that every other species other than itself uh, can get killed or get burnt. And why? Because their bark thickness also is disproportionately high, so much so that the main stem inside, xylem, phloem and all, that remains intact. And that's the only species almost in the jungle which survives. Not only that, even their seed is heat resistant. So, so at the end of fire, only their seed can germinate. Plus they themselves survive. So just understand the competition. The level of competition that a tree does is absolutely enormous. So that's another part I wanted to show, that how competition is used as a USP in nature. In nature, there's no morality, there's no ethics. Survival, procreation, these are the only two rules which work. Then we have our own national flower. I'm not putting here because of BJP. It's my picture which I've taken in the neighborhood. The beauty of lotus is absolutely astounding. Besides, it's beautifully crafted, the petals and corollas and, the rest of technology. It grows in mud, as you know. Why it grows in mud? Because it needs special minerals for it to come out with the beauty of that we see. It cannot grow in this plain place to get all those minerals now. So that's the reason. Can you please mute? And as you know, it's a total mathematical design. The number of petals are controlled by Fibonacci numbers. So it's a totally mathematical expressions, almost in every flower. The Fibonacci numbers, which you are familiar. If it was a 3-day course, I'd have got into details, but I'm sure you all know that. The tree, manufacturing of the dyes, such beautiful dyes, able to create somewhere in that. It is also able to shed, beautiful shading like painter. It does actually of the petals. But that's not the reason I've included that actually in that example. The beauty about it is, what happened to my slide? Sorry guys. I think I got disconnected.
We can see your screen, but it's just maybe the Zoom web is open at this point.
No, I only see Zoom. Can I just log in again?
Yeah, I mean, you can just maybe stop to share once and then reshare. Probably that might help.
No, all those icons have gone away.
Okay.
Let me just log out and come back, please.
Sure. That's fine. That's fine.
We are able to hear you and see also.
Can I continue then? I don't have to.
Yeah.
Okay, then let me just launch it separately.
I think
The
so.
only problem is you won't be able to see.
Yeah, we are able to see you also in a smaller frame, that is all. No.
See my slide?
Yes.
Now we can see the slide.
Yes.
Great. Yeah. Sorry.
Right. So again, if everyone else can go on mute, please.
Okay, we were here. Good. Sorry. So the reason I was telling that why I've included lotus is that's not what the reason I included. The beauty about lotus is that, it grows in, let's say, north. The temperature in the winter is about 14 degrees Celsius. And that's the water temperature. And it is growing, and therefore the temperature of the flower will be 15, 16, 17 degrees Celsius. And it has to attract, the bees, etc., for it to come for pollination on the flower. But let's say a bee actually is a cold-blooded animal. If it sits on that, it will die. So there's a problem basically now. So what does the lotus does? Lotus, if temperature of the stem and water is 14 degrees Celsius, it raises the temperature of the flower to 28 to 30 degrees Celsius. So it's amazing, absolutely miraculous kind of design. So the flower is at 28, 30 degrees Celsius and the water is at 14 degrees Celsius and the stem is at 14 degrees Celsius. So it's a marvel of the nature, and that's how also a lesson for us, treating your customer which helps you to survive. You go very far to do that. And then we come to humans. Also, we are the more complex design actually in terms of, and we just want to understand what that complexity is. Why we are the most difficult predictive animal in the kingdom. So I just touch upon these two egos. I'm not moving my cursors so that doesn't happen what we faced before. So left side you have a bigger kind of circumference which is rotating, and on the right side you have the smaller one. So these are two human beings trying to interact with each other. We need some muting. Now what happens, essentially what happens to humans, while the center here is me and my family and my very close friends with whom I almost identify, extension of myself. On the other hand, you have the other person who has an individual, bigger ego, slightly bigger family, and slightly bigger force around himself now. Now, what is this force? It's essentially a virtual space. Now, virtual space is nothing but essentially a expansion of psyche. I feel more secure than, than this individual. More secure meaning if I have more money, if I have more friends, if I have bigger community I belong to, then I feel more bigger than, the other person. So the interaction between these two is continuously happens on that basis now. So if this person is interacting with this person, and let's say he says that, look, gentlemen, you have created a product but stinks. So which means I have taken part of your space by criticizing you, which means the reaction to this individual of me will be negative. I'm not going to like him since he criticized me. In effect, what happens, the space of this individual is felt to go down, and the space of this individual in the reaction, essentially, he will say that, mind your own business, I don't care for you. So the space here also goes down, and there's a permanent conflict now you have created now. So now, what is the best way? That, the Satyam Briyat, Priyam Briyat. Why the philosophy? Satya bolo, but, in management, we have been teaching all the time that if you want to criticize somebody, including your own employees, make sure that before you criticize, say 3 good things about the individual. So expand the ego, and then take a little bit off. And you got on the message, pinches a little, but before that you have given him too much of space, so that's feeling happier. So their impression towards you will be very nice. So feeling good is a very good technique which can be used in personal interactions now. Now, why this is important? If you see now Facebook and all, like, comment, most of the likes, there's no dislike. Likes is basically, and people keep on counting about how many likes you got. So there's the whole mechanism. It is dealing with a very abstract level of space increase. So on your Facebook, if 20 people start criticizing you, I think you'll quit Facebook and go away now. So some of the industries that are developing, they are using that abstract theories to create their business models. And why that is very important now, that in the current environment where the computers and communications are combined. So your mobile and every individual is essentially a terminal. We are all have become terminals. And the communication and the devices are an extension of me now. So when I interact with you and I say I like you, even on the WhatsApp, and on text message or on phone call, we are interacting with each other. Which means what is happening is that the community of individuals, whether young, old, and so on now, they could be interacting and they have acquired a combined power so much unprecedented in the scheme of things till now that nobody has seen that now. So because of that, the industries now, they are under tremendous pressure from this combined collective force of the users who are continuously talking to each other. They are discussing your product, they are sharing with each other, which is determining what kind of pressure they are able to create on your products and services that you have been offering till now. And because of that, if as an industry, as an enterprise, if you are not connecting with their voices, then you can be hit absolutely with a bomb that you'll not even understand. So suddenly your product, which was hit till yesterday, is nowhere. So even though you could be applying your Six Sigma and your Malcolm bodies and all that essentially now, but if your customer centricity, that means the company exists because of customer. Remember, we are all management consultants. 1981 somewhere, Peter Drucker had said that the business is nothing but serving a customer. Rest is all peripheral now. So if you apply that philosophy, here is the customer, which is not old customer. They are not individual customers. They are collective customer, which even if you are selling a book, he is going to read. She is going to read the comments of number of users who have already bought the product. And they will be influenced by it. You want to buy a camera? Again, you will read reviews. You want to buy bigger things? Again, you will read all those things and be influenced by it. So there is unprecedented power which has come in the hands of the users who are using these devices, and in turn they are able to put it and exercise on the enterprises now. That is the reason for change, unprecedented in our times that we have been seeing now. And that's where design thinking is about the connection of these individuals, these community to the enterprise. In short, that's what we are talking about. And naturally, if you are talking about the undefined kind of networks, then it's a very complex problem solving. And that's why design thinking possibly is only tool which can help you to do that. We all know this story, management consultants. I'm sure you have, the Kodak story. What better example? The guys who invented digital, the whole camera are nowhere. They're in chapter 11 and almost the extinct company. BlackBerry, who started the revolution, of executive mobile, are nowhere now. Nokia, which actually started the whole revolution of things, became things of the past now. What happened? If you go into it, you will realize that, and mind it, somebody Nokia was not a stupid company. They were what their previous business was. They used to deal with, the woods and jungles and that kind of nature. And yet from there, they could see the opening in the mobile market. And from there, coming into mobile market, they miss out. Sony missing out actually on the whole digital revolution on the music. iTunes came from nowhere. So, it happens. Just the attitude of, connecting with your customer community. I think if you don't do that, there's a heavy risk of, you suddenly losing in the marketplace. The other thing I was talking about, even if I'm saying you can be creating Six Sigma, your lean and so on now to create the most efficient processes, which we saw in GE and so on now. But what happened suddenly? Why they are not being talked about now? Because there's some disconnection which happened with the ultimate customer. And so just focusing on your processes which are looking only inward is not sufficient condition for success. You have to connect also with them, then refine the processes. So I'm not saying that those techniques and everything is not required, They are very much vital, but at the same time, you have to bring in this customer also as a major factor in the whole thing. I mean, this, they have been shouting in our face. Facebook, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple. And it's just, is it accidental? They're all from America. I mean, the first thing in America, I mean, we talk about, slightly digressing, we keep on talking about a lot of entrepreneurial nature of companies. Many of you are, I'm sure, mentors and so on for them. What is so different between there and here? You need a whole environment of entrepreneurial in nature for this company to succeed. I'm sure the ideas come here, but what happens invariably, these ideas are pursued to the next level, and then they're dropped out. Basically, and then, my hearing some echo, or is there a question coming? Please, can you mute?
I don't. Okay, there are few people who have just unmuted themselves. Elsie, please continue. I'll try and just unmute everyone, man.
Yeah, please. So, so the thing I was talking about is basically that these are the giants. What is special? What is common among them? They are all dealing with end consumer. They understand that consumer much better than anybody else, and that is why they are the winners. So understand, there's no accident. People who adopted, and if you have recently read Bujo's article, which has been circulating since last few days, he has talked about that in 97 or 8, when he founded the 94-5, he founded the company. His determination was that he's going to put the customer in the center. And he said that I want to make the best, most customer-centric company in the world. Result, so it's not an accident. Because customer is in the center, they're completely driven, and there's no surprise from them. So we're talking about humans, we're talking about connections. We just want to go inside the human brain. What makes us what we are? How do we make our decisions now? So we have 3 different elements in our brain, 3 parts in it, and they are actually physically separated. One is the reptilian brain, meaning essentially what? Your survival, procreation, and so therefore me and my family and my close friends, remember the inside circle that I had drawn? Essentially reptilian brain. So that is not going to go away. Often you may be anywhere that if it comes to the very powerful emotions, they will take over. And many times we keep on hearing about it. Emotional. Now we are essentially emotional beings. Emotional beings to the extent that you'll be shocked to understand that 95% of all purchases in the world happen on emotion. So please understand that emotion plays a massive role, so much so that even though we have a rational brain, so there's emotional brain, there's a rational brain, but the rational brain, the emotional brain is so smart, that it is able to influence even the rational brain. So you go and kick your neighbor, but rational brain will actually rationalize it, saying that no, actually the guy wasn't tolerable, there was no other way but to hit him in the ass. So such is the irrationality that we possess now. And that's why the conflict comes. So we are a very emotionally controlled, in the hands of the emotion. And that's why the desire, the stature, the space, the money, all that power, that we deal with egos. That's why it is so important to us now, because it gives us security and, safety in our own mind now. So a lot of decisions we do because of our emotions now. The emotions play a massive role, which means 50 people told you this outstanding product, you'll go and buy it, and actually also you'll be influenced by it and say that, yes, this is a beautiful product. Sorry, again. Okay. So I was just giving an example of, we have created a corporate movie, which won the Cannes 2007 at the best corporate movie. I'm not going to play it, but I've given you a QR code, which can be scanned, and you can see it at your own leisure, which uses only emotions as a driving theme to sell Nayland, who we are. So there's no computer, there's no showing this office and that office. I'll certainly recommend that please have a look. It's a 6-minute film, worth watching.
Sure. We'll also take a link from you and we'll post it to everyone. So if in case you're not able to scan the QR.
Sure. It's also, of course, on the website. So design thinking is an iterative process. As in the evolution, basically experimentation is the centered theme which works into the, so you learn, you do something, you show it back, it doesn't work, throw it, go back again on drawing board and continue. That's the essential process of design thinking. In olden days, traditional way, you visualize sitting from your air-conditioned office, that you understand this is the product that you want to sell to the community. Indirect, direct knowledge, some agency has told you this will work. And you are very excited to create a product, created artifacts, objects, showed it to 3-4 customers, they feel very happy. You paid them some money and, just to do some survey and so on now. Often the surveys don't give you the correct results anyway. You created some switchboard and, put some nice switches, some colors and things like that. And you launched in the marketplace. That was the product life cycle essentially. And you keep on doing that. This is completely obsolete. It's not going to work anymore now. And the approach that we have to take now is one of basically being management consultants. We know it very well. Though, these men of Hindustan disputed loud and long, each in his own opinion exceeding stiff and strong, though each was partly in the right, looking at the elephant, essentially parts of the elephant. But they all were in the wrong. Nobody could guess the elephant, but even though whatever part they were touching, they were guessing it correct now. Often is the case now. So what happens is that if you don't have a holistic view, you could be right. I can't say you're wrong. But holistically, unless you put things together, you'll never know what the real story was. So in design thinking, that's what we believe in, that every part individually is not going to work. You have to collectively think what the object is and then find the solution. What is the problem? So it's like iceberg hidden actually in the ocean. What you see is, unless you explore what, why, who, how, you'll not know what is inside now. So, unless you dive, unless you really apply reasoning and try things out, you'll not know that's an iceberg now. So it's very important to keep exploring curiosity. So the curiosity, again, now go back to the theme I've been playing. So curiosity plays a massive role. Competitiveness plays a massive role. As I said, forget about the ethics and things like that. That will come later on. And those considerations are going to come in design thinking. But for now, just be free. We have to win and understand what is winning against and who are the players, what is their ruthlessness, how should we take them on. So that's extremely important. There's another challenge that happens in the in creating a design thinking company now. So it requires basically 2 kinds of approach now. One is the analytical thinking, which is engineer's domain. So engineers, we can break down to the last level, right? No different than, let's say, if you're designing a tree. I mean, tree, just the leaf. It has a massive engineering model and structures on which you put the chlorophyll and make a beautiful exterior now, which is on the right side now. So when you look from the outside, all beauties. This is the trees. All your the mathematical formulas and all that takes place basically, but that's all hidden in the beauty of the tree now. So what you need is 2 kinds of things. One, you need engineering approach to problem solving. They can create abstraction of the way things have been designed. And therefore they're replicating it, and creating sturdiness, making it happen, put it on assembly line. Only engineers can do that now. On the other hand, you have intuitive thinkers. There's a war between the 2 guys, mind it now. So creative thinking, that they think that this is generationless. These guys are low level, guys. They're engineers. Incidentally, we are all engineers now. But on the other side, You have the intuitive thing. They are above because they can, and partly I'm saying also when, you are doing creative thinking, you are able to process infinite amount of data and take a call, that hunch. So there's no basis that they can think of, but they have a hunch because it comes to their mind now that yes, knowing then gives you a hunch saying that this will work now. So the problem is now in large corporations, how do you bring this together in an integrated mindset? Because which is what is required to make things happen. So the beauty of design thinking, this is where it's going to happen now. You need first-class engineers, you need first-class, creative thinkers to come together and create products and services. Both. When I say product, it's nothing different than a bundle of services put together, maybe through a machine or human playing inside, but essentially that now. So this is what is the process which is required in design thinking. And that is why I'm saying, if you hear about now, there are advertising firms which are buying software companies. There are software firms who are buying a designing company and an advertising company and so on now. But invariably, what happens is at the top, the ability to understand both is not easy. I think why Nayland was able to adopt early, which Chandan mentioned earlier, is because, at the top, we had experimented with both. We are by profession engineers and engineering kind of mindset. At the same time, also we get involved in photography, filmmaking, and so on now. So you understand their mindset. So when you're talking to each one, you're able to inspire them, work together and create a culture of combined sort of mindset. So this is extremely important. You are all management consultants. It's extremely important for you to bring this point home in the leadership, that please don't force one on the other. Otherwise, you will destroy that. And I don't want to make comment, but whichever acquisitions I referred to in form of tribe, they're quite failures, because invariably, if I am an engineering company, a software engineering firm, if I buy a creative shop, I'm going to impose my views. With the result, every guy is going to leave. And there are examples where, the French biggest advertising firm buys one of the biggest creative companies in IT, and the result is not very good. I don't want to make comment because everybody will understand. So it's extremely important that there's a lot of motivation. There's a lot of human element has to come in to make it happen now. So what is the difference between the design thinking and traditional thinking? I keep looking at my watch. So traditional thinking is all about flawless planning. Flawless planning means what you think is that the first time right. I must do everything first time right. It's not going to happen now. In design thinking, it is enlightened trial and error. Essentially, enlightened means know whatever you can know and start trying. Okay? Fail safe, traditional, fail fast. Fail fast, just discard it, experiment again. A rigorous analysis, that's what you want to collect data. No. Collect data, sufficient data, create MVP, start testing. Okay? So bring version. Remember Windows 1, how it was and what is Windows 10? So, it happens. And these are the masters of the game. That's how they are succeeding. And that's why, frankly, we in India, we still carry that engineering mindset. And that's the reason, that the thinking remains somewhere still draft. The presentations, a lot of presentations done to this guys. No, show the product. Experimentation, that is the culture you have to cultivate. Traditional thinking, arm's length customer research, dipstick survey, hire some additional research firm. No, here, direct customer immersion, empathy interviews, labs. Our lab is created essentially for this purpose. We bring in the customer communities, just watch them from a distance, don't intervene. So that is important. That gives you, the body language, the intensity of their talk. All that is made note of, and that's how we learn in design thinking. Periodic. It used to be, occasionally. It is a continuous process in design thinking. Thinking, doing. So earlier, as I said, normal thing was thinking. A lot of thinking, Mr. Now here, start doing things. So in a nutshell, that is the design thinking now. Now, this is again a very important kind of thing.
Elsie, if it's okay, can we just take a pause, maybe just take a couple of questions and then resume?
Okay, sure, Anton.
Right. See, two questions. I think one, the first one is some of the examples that you have given, and for companies which have also exceedingly done very well lately are mostly within the information technology space. However, product traditionally is more from, let's say, I mean, the manufacturing sense is where the product really emerged. And then obviously in today's time, all the information technology and software also, we call each of these functionality as a product. Now, the question is the process the same when we talk about even the manufacturing companies when they do the design thinking workshop?
Absolutely. I'm saying what better example than Apple. Apple is not just software maker. In fact, on that, they are almost secondary. What did they excel with? They changed the entire human interaction through their through their product. Why do you pay a premium when today? And it's not accidental they did it once. They keep on doing for years and years and years. So it's not just actually that tall. And so don't see, as we are moving ahead now, to differentiate between a pure physical product and pure information technology product is a misnomer. Today's car, what do you call it? Is it purely a steel and your mechanisms or mechanical instrumentation, or is it actually a computer inside? So I'm saying, talking about, don't think now that that's why I specifically mentioned. In fact, I'm not even talking about physical product or information technology product. I'm talking about even services. Even services is a product. Even they have to be continuously designed, keeping in mind your customer thing, which if you see now, that's what Amazon does. What is the customer servicing to them? They're continuously telling you where their product, your package has arrived. I mean, there's no need for them to do it, but they could see that the comfort in your mind, the question keeps on coming. You are in the know. See, there is a famous saying in design thinking. The most important expression in design thinking is that don't make me think. So that applies to every physical product we are talking about now. If you buy, let's say, a mixer, and if you take half an hour to find where the switch is it a good product? So I'm just taking one example. Something, things like that, they should be instinctively designed, to cater to those kind of mechanisms. So we may be taking examples of information technology purely because information technology is now almost in every machine, and the interactivity itself will be determined by how they are implemented. Therefore, in fact, one of the projects that we have recently done is for aircraft experience design within the cockpit for very rich guys. This is a private kind of planes. So the entire experience design, right from the cockpit and outside the cockpit. In fact, this year and last year both, it has won the best project of the year from Microsoft, chosen, nailed to the chosen partner in that. So I'm saying all kinds of where number of IoT devices are connected with it now. And the experience is the human and machine, the interaction. That's what we call interaction design.
Very well. I think you covered and very well explained.
Good question. Good question.
There's one more question, which is from Anuj. He says, products have finite life like humans. Design thinking can help create a product only for so long. Most often signs are visible at times. Life extension can be given at times one cannot. How do you suggest we play an end of life design situation where that happens, a loyal bunch of customers are left in the lurch?
So
is that to a new?
In fact, I think Anuj, you have asked the question slightly early, because in fact, we are just going to define the whole thing, by which I think your worry will put to rest, because In design thinking, there's no surprise or there's no time element of that nature. It's a continuous process. Therefore, there's no surprise. So in the sense that the product is continuously evolving. So there's no end of the product. That will be also by design. So the new version, you would have started much earlier before actually your demise of this particular version happens now. So it's you know, so let me just complete. If your question is still not answered, then I'll specifically answer. But understand that if you are practicing design thinking, there's no end to it. The new generation would have automatically taken over and killed your own product. So you don't allow your competitor to kill your product, but you must kill the product yourself by your own version, which amply clear by Apple, you can see.
So Anuj, maybe after the session, some more questions as follow-up may happen. Elsie, you can continue, please.
Yeah, and Anuj is most welcome to talk to me even separately. Okay. So this is the framework, famous framework, partly which is design studios and all have been using. They start from immerse, define, ideate, build, and validate. But we realize that in the current environment where information technology plays a massive role into the whole integration and experience, interaction design experience, we have added this thing called sense. And what is sense? I just want to explain to you. Sense, because you are running company, you have already a product in the market now. So I'm not necessarily all the time designing new products, okay? And that is partly the question I was saying now. So sense, first thing, if you have a product which is performing in the market, you sense. Sense how? What is the thing that you sense? So this is, I'm elaborating now the sense quadrant. Sense is you scan the, besides knowing your customer, the prognosis of the customer. Do they like it, not like it? Are they leaving a lot of them? Are they joining? So you can place the product life cycle. Which point are you? Are you peaked? Are you going down? You will know that. So given that, I'm saying, because that is, you can know. Besides that, you have to also understand the external factors. You have to understand the environmental, regulatory environment, technological kind of developments, enabling technology which can make things happen, political environment. So many things are blocked by the government. They won't allow it simply. So, you know, all cryptocurrencies now, you know, we talk about it now. VPNs even, the government has to work from home. We have to take permission from the government. You may or may not be aware. Economic scenario, again, you know, this all matters. Social structures, how the change is happening in social structure, demographics. Now, the buying power, all that will determine, you know, basically that how your product is going to be shaping in the future now. So when you say sense, we have to do all that. To complete, the way we say is that know everything that can be known. It's extremely important formula that we all remember. Know everything that can be known. And hence the need for business analysis, business, you know, the analytics, the prognosis, all that actually the science that we're talking about, and you keep on hearing about AI and all that, they're essentially talking about machine learning to make a calculated projection of the future. Now, once you have got the prediction of the future, they're not necessarily is going to be true, but they are just an idea. And how in design thinking, you also verify whether it is working or not. That's what you're going to touch upon now. So first was sense. Having understood inside your company how the product is performing, not performing, how a new demand is emerging, which we don't have an answer, which means there could be a case in your mind that I think we should create this particular product. This is a hypothesis, what we call. So we create a number of hypotheses before we go to the immerse. Now the hypothesis must be tested. That if I need to create a product, you know, or a service, immerse. I go to all such customers whom I think I can sell the product, you know. We do direct what we call immersion interviews or empathy interviews. Now empathy interviews is when actually we change sides. We go in place of the customer and think like them. So these surveys are barred in design thinking. We don't do written surveys. we essentially engaged with a customer or the prospect for an hour, 1.5 hours. In a totally stress-free environment, we don't ask questions, we essentially trigger questions, and mostly they talk about. And we watch their intensity, we talk about their body language, we talk about their words they are speaking, and so on now, which is far more honest than what has been happening till today, what we have been using in terms of research and so on now. So when we do that, essentially, there are two lobes in the brain. One is sympathy, and one is empathy. There are literally two parts. Now, sympathy is essentially, okay, I mean, this guy, I think, poor fellow, let me give him some 20 bucks or 1,000 rupees, and he'll cope up now. But then you dissociate yourself and walk away. That's what I call sympathy now. Now, when we talk about customer empathy, that is not it is so. If I want to design a product for the slum, then I have to go and live in the slum for some time or go and talk to those guys and understand their lifestyle. Only then, and think like them. Okay, if required, stay there. Then you will understand what empathy is and what their real problems are. So while understanding the problem and even in verifying the problem, both times we deep dive into the life of the customer. So what we get out of these interviews, these individual interviews, questioning, meaning basically making notes and so on now. We get a lot of filled notes in form of stickers. We keep on making notes. We get a lot of audio clips. We actually record with their permission. We get video clips also from the field. We record them all. And then we essentially we connect at a very fundamental level with the prospective customers. Now then we try and define the problem. Now what is defining? We have to basically package them in class of requirements. So let's say these are the actual case. In fact, this is the kind of stickers we have got. And if you essentially theoretically click on the customer, you will have a backing of audio file, video file, and all kinds of detailed statements which would have obtained now. So we have essentially created bullets which can be captured, and then we categorize them into broad. So basically a number of customers would have said the same thing in certain different language. So we put them in same blocks. So essentially functionality of what customer wants is now this, segregated in, so function 1, function 2, function 3, function 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now you're getting into definition of a product, you know. So I'm saying this will love to demonstrate to you. Actually, that's why I said 2-3 days workshop. We can take live workshop and demonstrate to you, but just to give you understand theory. So you are getting now the defining of the product functionality. Essentially, that's what you've gotten. Also, once you have got the definitions, you also understand who has said those. So depending on who has said what clusters, we create the personality based on demographics, and we define and give it a name. So when I say, I give it Ashok, who is whose age is between 25 to 40, his income group or her income group is this, they have children, they have their own house, and things like that, that all information is captured now. And on average, every product that you are designing now will have not more than 5 to 6 such class of people, basically, for whom you are going to design the product. So you define very clear-cut personality. We give almost a persona, what we call, to your users. And this persona could be as diverse as cat and dog. So what is, two major differentiators in cat and dog? While dog continuously want to be patted, the cat thinks you are the pet, so therefore it expects you not to bother her or him. It will come to you when necessary now. So you have to understand that. Same thing applies for the customer. Some of them, please keep distance. I'll come back to you. Some of them continuously have to be pampered. You have to know. And design thinking will tell you the class of customers who need to be kind of handled differently. That's again the beauty of design thinking. Then ideate. What is ideate? Ideate is essentially innovation to connect. So we have got now class of demographics we have created within that, right? We have got a product in our mind now. So we have one more thing we are doing. As technology company, research and development, and technology company means also I'm referring to manufacturing companies and so on now. You have 3D printing, which earlier wasn't there. Now it's there. So that's what I call new technologies. Now you connect the two. You have options of using different kind of technology to fulfill the same promises or functionality. So you create 3 ways, 4 ways of doing the same thing. Right? So you create alternative mechanisms to deliver the product. But how do you choose which one to launch in the market or take it to the market? So we created an MVP, right? But essentially what we test essentially that first we check the desirability of the product. Do the population that I'm aiming, do they want this product? Are they willing to pay for it? Then we look at the technology feasibility. Technology may be there, but remember the digital camera in 78 or so, when it was created, the weight was about 12 to 13 kgs. So the technology wasn't there to make it miniature. And that's why, it was not pursued at Kodak. So technology, the feasibility has to be established. Again, someone like Nayland, we continuously are also researching on all the latest technology. So we look at the problem and look at what technology can solve this problem optimally, business sense. It must make it, even if technologically is feasible, is it practical, is it viable business-wise? Will it give me some reward by which I can survive? So those ideas or that idea is pursued to the next level. And what is the next level? Build. So whether it's a physical, whether it is a service, whether it is a IT product, that's where you start building. And then validation means testing. So again, applicable all across. So you start essentially with a low-fi product. Basically, prototype is what you create. We don't go for high-fi product, and you iterate, which you already mentioned earlier. And we use this model for development. Basically, we have understood the customer's needs, wants, and aspiration. So when you're freely talking to the customer, they're not just commenting upon their needs, okay, the functionality. They're also talking about, they've heard about the competition. And they also wish, but don't you have this also? I would have loved to. But anyway, I can survive, but I think you should, in future, you should look for it. Now that is giving you input for your next phase of the product or next evolution of the product. Then aspirations. If you tell people to forget about all this now, what is your ideal environment? How the product should have been? Forget about any constraint now. Suppose nothing was given to you as a constraint. What did you expect from us now? That gives you the fodder for your R&D. So this is extremely important. 3 categories we divide the low functionality: needs, wants, and aspiration. So I understand my customer very well because I deep down empathize with them. I have a feel of what they want. So using that needs first, MVP, we create a utilitarian functionality in the product. Then comes the usability. Now we have created roughly about 256 rules, which are based on heuristics, interaction design. And every product can be tested across that. Right from if you're creating a cake, to creating a aeroplane or creating a software product, it is equally applicable. So the interaction design is essentially the relationship of the machine to the user. Okay, so it's nothing to do with whatever interaction. So you are going to the branch, let's say, you created and introduced a new service, I have to go to the branch of whichever or a shop. What is my experience? Is it consistent to your online experience that you have provided? So all that is looked at in the heuristics, basically, rule-based engine. This is based on hundreds of papers published worldwide and patents, and which have been combined to create this heuristics. This is actually a patent of Nayland. Then we come to aesthetics. Aesthetics, as you know, actually is nothing but mathematics. So a minimalism way of, again, inspirations come from nature. Nature hides its complexities, you know, to a beautiful exterior. So that mechanism you must create, you know, keep in mind that whatever the complexity of engineering might have inside, don't flaunt it. Give a very simple product to interact with the future, with the exterior level. Aesthetics also is, I think, the minimalism is always the best policy. When you create a maximization, there's always a chance somebody will not like, will thoroughly get confused, will not know where to find what, and so on now. And also understand that in this heuristic design, these rules take into consideration a lot of human constraints. You know, our 50% cognition happens through the eyes, our 30% happens through the hearing, and only 20% happens through all the other means that your touch and everything else now. So the importance of looking at an object is extremely important. Just the visual, you know. And also, you know, the peripheral vision of ours. I don't have time now, but basically, you know, we look at one time only 6 degrees. So if you are in front of your screen, you only can focus on 2 or 3 characters, you know. So if I'm designing a screen and I put the most important information not at the place where naturally you will look, I put on the last bottom quadrant, it is the best way of cheating your boss, that you pass the most crucial information, which is vital for running the organization, and it is, let's say, descending, and you put him on the right bottom quadrant, he will never look at it. Because our the way we look at it, especially male population, looks left top corner. Now, when we are designing the kind of screens for you, or a dashboard and so on now, we'll ensure that the information goes, depending on whom you're designing for, should go, where should it go, how much information should be there, and so on now. All that is part of the heuristic design. Then the emotional connect. Now, since you're talking to the customer, you know the insights of the user, what kind of emotional connect can you create? Like, for instance, why do people pay you know, huge amount of money to Tesla when the same functionality, almost minus the power, is available in other cars at 50% price? The reason, because they're aiming at a very high income group, and those that income group can draw their pleasure or ego satisfaction or the space around that around their ego through emotional connection. The emotional connection being that I'm helping the environment. So helping the environment is the ploy which is utilized to extract more money, and of course everything else remaining constant. So similarly, almost in every product, the color can be utilized. Like, for instance, if you're creating a product for young children, 5-year-old girl, they will always want pink. They grow 12, then they want revolt, then they will go black, no color. These are very predictive models. And if you don't know this, you cannot design a product properly now. So this is a heuristic design, and this is the thing which is followed now. Then the validation. Essentially, it is done in labs as well as natural settings. You know, natural settings mean wherever your customers are, go and use it there. Let them use in the environment that finally the product is going to be utilized. It's extremely important. So here is a can you hear?
No, the voice is mute in the video.
Not from my side, I don't know.
Yeah, I think usually it so happens. What do you have a link for this as well? We can.
Yeah, I think so. I think better, yeah, have a look. But do look at it because it's a special lab created. We have created in multiple places here, South Africa, America, Chennai, and so on now. And any one of you, if you want to see post-COVID, you're most welcome. So finally, the product life cycle is like this. You have design thinking, create a new product, understand their needs, wants, and aspirations. Brainstorm ideas, you create it, you build it, you went to the customers, measure the what customers have been talking about, incorporate that, learn from there, again change it until you are happy about it. When you are happy, then you can launch the product basically. So use agile and loop around, the building, testing, learning, rebuilding, and come out and deliver the product to the market. And this is a continuous process. And again, this is what I was talking about basically. You sensed, started, empathized, defined, sorry guys. Defined, ideated, build, validate, again sense. Validation when you are doing, again you are sensing. And that's giving you input again for the next version. So it's a continuous process. So in short, this is what design thinking is. First half was learning phase. What is learning? Sense. Everything to be known, what can be known. Right from data to environment to everything. Immerse. Understand your customer and be the customer. Think like them. So, you divergent views, basically. You collection, lot of it. Then you started segregating information in definition. Again, ideation, number of technologies, number of ways you can solve the problem that has been highlighted to you. So again, you look for many ideas. So again, the divergence happens. Then again, converge. And you build and focus on it now. So essentially, the entire learning is research, definition gathering, concept development, testing. So this is new cycle, life cycle schematic. In fact, we used this entire philosophy in creating a product, which because of COVID we have not launched. Again, I'll give you a link, which is artorial.com. You can go, I'll give you a link. And we are giving a 15% discount if you want to buy any picture, photograph which is on the site. And number of international photographers and others are already popular. It's a marketplace essentially where people can go and buy pictures. They can define what size they are looking for, how the frame, what kind of frame they want to have around it, and it will be shipped to you directly to your home in 7 to 10 days time now. That is the product. So essentially it's for painting and pictures. So it uses all kinds of technology like augmented reality, which means you can actually display your picture on the wall and actually see before you buy and so on now. So you can see the picture with frame, with color, with changes, size, and throw it on the wall. See it, don't like it, change it. You can change the wall color and all that. So basically all that is done. Call artorial.com. For this product was created totally by the audience. So we have roughly about 2,000 customers, prospects were interviewed in the lab and so on now to create this product. Each follows every cycle that we have talked about. You can post your comments later on. And this is again the QR code which you can take it. And there is a 15% off for 1 week for the participants and your friends. And you can take advantage of it. It's artorial.com. It's worldwide, basically. And any questions now?
Excellent, sir. Thank you very, very much. I think this was an extremely prolific talk. And most of us, I think we are hungry for more. Uh, and it's obviously during WebEx, they say, or during a webinar, maybe 45 minutes is the max that you should have. But credit goes to you. Probably we are over an hour now, and people are hungry for more. There are two very interesting things that I can share. First, you are speaking to most of the consultants, and probably this is one breed of people who it's difficult to normally share knowledge.
Absolutely, you're right. Most challenging.
Exactly. And one testimony of that is probably the number of people who did attend the session today, because it has been by far the highest so far, because we circulated within the group, because we do not usually share it
Yeah, correct.
other than the group. Otherwise, the numbers could be more. But within this, the numbers are very, very high comparatively. And the second thing is all the activities which are going on for Q&A. Certainly a lot of interest, and we'll just go there for now. So I will read out the question, and possibly if you can unmute yourself. So for the gentleman who is asking the question can unmute themselves, and then we will possibly have more discussion around it. Please understand, we just have 15 minutes, so we just have to make the most of it. So, okay, the first question is on this is from Manohar. And just one second, some noise from my end, just one second. Right, so there's a question from Manohar. His question is some insights how we use design thinking in education sector.
See, let me also say one thing, that I don't want to pretend that I sit in the mind of all the stakeholders that is being referred to. So I'm giving you an abstraction process basically which can be applied. So I'm saying, should we have a discussion around it? I'm saying more one-to-one, that what are the stakes, which one is being referred to? Is it from the point of view of school, college, university, student? So I think there's a lot of questions I'll have to ask before formulating any kind of answer. So only fair, I'm most welcome to connect with me. You can give my contacts. It is lcs@nailen.com. Anytime, please, any one of you that we can work with you. And please, I think you're also management consultants. My invitation that if you have customers, we can work together and you can be part of team, basically, which will give us the opportunity of your knowledge, which is immense, knowing the customer far more than we know.
Sarji, if I may clarify this question, although I mentioned education sector in general, but today with the new environment, with the shifting of the delivery mode from on-site to online kind of things, plus the government is coming with new policies, and there is going to be a totally new ecosystem and the environment in which education sector, be it primary or higher education, we need to operate, including skill development for that matter. So I was looking at in a holistic format that what kind of design thinking for a educator, that is the college owners or the faculty or the course designers and the delivery system as such. On the other side is definitely we need to look at the learning side, the learner side, the student and the parent support kind of thing. So it's not very easy to bring it to the student level, the design thinking at this stage, when there is a lot more absorption needed. But at the delivery side, maybe the faculty, maybe the instructors who are designing the courses, etc., keeping the new environment, new challenges in mind, they need to start thinking. This was the abstract format of the question that I
I understand. I think basically, again, I'm saying that the audience is very digressed, even when we are talking about the colleges and so on. The first thing is that the biggest thing that I see the problem, especially in primary education and so on now, is that there is a great divide now. People who have access to online and people who don't. So I'm saying government's biggest dilemma will be that if they want to introduce everything online, they have to also ensure that people who cannot afford, they don't have, neither have the education or so on, going to equip themselves and then to guide their students and so on now. So that's biggest dilemma I can see now. Second thing, the interactivity. Interactivity that what I say is very minuscule. That's not the kind of interactive that is expected. Even when I'm, I have attended some of the MIT and Harvard and some of the classes. The interactivity is not at the level that should be there. So I mean, it has to be. It has to be thought of completely different. Today, what we have done is we are taking the same course, putting online and saying, okay, that is it. Not, this will not work. The completely rethinking has to take place if it has to be an online course. And we have been experiencing that. In fact, the number of courses on design thinking itself. And you should watch actually some of the courses on Interaction Design Foundation, because they have been doing it much before COVID. So you can see a lot of maturity around that. So Manoharji, I would suggest that if you can go to their website, Interaction Design Foundation.
Okay.
Very good actually inputs you can get from there. Because the interactivity, what they do is they give you one video course. Video will be a big thing. So I'm thinking whatever we are talking about, one thing is that there has to be a lecture, then give a big space for interactivity. And interaction, during that interaction, essentially one thing is online interaction which the machine does, and then you have the teacher themselves. So maybe a 3-tier structure have to be created, for almost every course. And this is off the cuff I'm talking about, just looking at what has been happening. And some of the people, we in fact put them on MIT classes in design thinking. Wasn't impressive at all. So it was quite shocking that, that we were disappointed. Whereas interaction design, we found that they were one of the best. So I think just go through that and see that actually. But we can work with you on that.
I think in the interest of time, we'll just take more questions. Thank you, Manoharji. I think you can also write to LC now, which I think is pretty fairly covered in terms of his views.
Sure.
There's another very interesting question. In fact, a host of questions from Praveen coming up. I see him already there. And this question, I think, is very relevant. He's giving a scenario of a very big manufacturing company. And for someone, let's say, who is into ball bearing area. Now, this is one product which is not visible to all. I mean, it's not a product where people can view it. Now, his question is, how do I incorporate design thinking in such product line?
No, that's fine. But the point is the ball bearing, what is the measurement and what is the evolution of ball bearing? So the question is, what are the parameters which are measured for its improvement, right? And which interaction it happens to what kind of things? And is there any change which are going to happen in those things, for instance? So I'm saying I'm not the expert on the engineering side, but I'm saying that if, for instance, an automatic, the driverless cars come in, and the patterns of driving become different, will it have a different sort of dynamics created on the wheels? So will it make a difference there? So all I'm saying is that we have to look at that. Now, if the safety which was required for the humans to drive, especially in places like Pune and Bombay and so on, if it goes to a more of a train kind of driving straightforward and the car will stop and will never zigzag and so on now, will the stress on the wheels and other things will be lesser, which means the material choices, can they be different now? Can there be some cost savings? All those things have to be looked at now. So the design thinking is all about that everything that should be known, is it being known? And everything that is being pursued in form of R&D, whatever effect of that is going to happen on the product, are they being considered? They should not be in silos, that every department which is dealing and has influence is, we call stakeholders. They all have to participate. So it is, no problem is engineering problem or creative problem. Every problem is a combined systemic problem. That is the large definition, basically, in design thinking.
Fair enough.
I hope, Praveen, I've answered you to some extent.
Yes, I think Praveen is already acknowledging it. Moving on, I think we'll just be able to take three more. One of it is, since design thinking is a process of hit and trial, how receptive and willing are CEOs? There's a question from Sunil. So basically the CXOs, in terms of their involvement in the whole process, maybe the importance.
Well, frankly, I'll tell you, basically their dilemma we have to understand. Since we are empathy people, we have to understand the dilemma of a CEO or CXO. Now he has a running company. Things are doing fine. Okay. They are a Malcolm Mordis winner. So, I mean, what is wrong with it? I'm the best, right? That's the attitude basically now. So I'm saying it's understandable when they say that, what do you want me to do? Disrupt the whole company and bring something new now? No, we are not talking about disruption. We are talking about, while your things are running, please ensure that there is a connect with the customers also is not being ignored. So when the customers started talking about their aspiration, where are you pursuing your product in that direction? If that is missing, then I'm saying the design thinkers certainly can argue with the CXO that we have no problem in what you are doing outstanding work. But the risk that we are running is that the band of customers, right, they are thinking this way and projecting their thinking 16 months hence, your product is coming into peril. Now this is job of design thinkers to create data and present to CXOs and CEOs. And if they still don't agree, then frankly, he is not about CEO because he's going to lose job after 16 months anyway. And as consultant, management consultant, we should not shy away in making that prediction to him. This is our job.
Very, very relevant. Very relevant. One final.
I'm saying with this authority because I've been posed this question no less than the CEO themselves. This very question.
Yeah, exactly.
But they accepted. They accepted when we showed them the metrics.
Exactly. In fact, on similar lines, Som was also has a comment. He says, can we summarize it in one way, which is, let's say, the architecture, because it incorporates all aspects of product life cycle. And what is your comment, I mean, to his views? Yeah. There's one word he's saying, architecture, for design thinking. And so you could also unmute and maybe.
See, architecture sounds more like engineering. So I'll write I will call it design only, interaction design. So it's basically interaction design is what we talk. We are creating a product through interaction design, be it a product, service, whatever. It's interaction design.
Indeed.
Yeah, thank you, LC. I agree with you. We use the architecture in the banking sector, but we also learned that it can be used in political, education, and any other field. But
then you can do so. See, as long as I'm saying that people, uneducated people like me, don't interpret it as engineering kind of nomenclature, absolutely fine. So if they understand architecture means design, then there's no issue.
Thank you. It was a great talk.
Thank you. So there are more questions, but we'll just stop here. A couple of things. I will request Shrikant, who is one of our chairman for the Pune chapter, and he represents us in the national body today as well to propose a vote of thanks. And after that, I'll request all of you, if you can just be around, we'll just take a quick photograph or a screen print of all of you. And so maybe 5-7 more minutes max. Srikanth, please take over.
Oh, thanks, Chandan. I have the pleasant duty of thanking LC and all people who attended this wonderful program. When I received the mail from Chandan that LC is going to present, I was very happy because I know his skill of presenting, explaining the new concepts. Starting from a tiger, curious tiger, and coming to a design thinking process is a long journey which he has covered very well in 1 hour. And there is so much to be discussed in all these aspects of the process. But one thing is that, see, someone asked about manufacturing. The concept of concurrent engineering and involving the customer and the internal customers of the company has been there for quite a long time. I have experienced it myself also. And LC has finally given a wonderful sequence, starting from sense and going to validation. And that is the process now everyone has to follow, because customer is the nucleus of all business. I mean, that is what Mahatma Gandhi had told us, and now we know ourselves that when there is a competition, the main person who should be looked after is the customer in whichever way he wants. And the final thing is, emotionally, he must feel that he should buy this product, it will be useful for him, and it will satisfy his need. I think these are the various takeaways from the presentation. Thank you very much, LC, for the wonderful presentation. Thanks all the organizers and the participants who made this program a great success. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Sri.
Okay. Now, Chandan, your photograph business.
Looks like Chandan is gone on mute.
Chandan, please unmute yourself.
Oh, I'm so sorry. So I'm saying Anuj is also there. Anuj, if you can just also say a couple of words from your side as well, and then we go into.
Hi, Anuj.
I mean, hi, LC. Good to see you again. Always good to listen to you. A lot of you know I was in TCS, but a lot of you may not know that it was LC who inducted me into TCS. It was his final interview where he gave a nod that I got to join TCS. So that's how old my connect with LC is. And it's always a pleasure to listen to LC and to hear him and strike out on his own as an entrepreneur and do some amazing things. I think Nihilent is still to come out with an IPO. We are all waiting with interest to see when it comes out. Nihilent has been an important part of IMCI and LC has always backed IMCI to the hilt whenever there is a need. And for that, I'm eternally grateful to LC for standing up for the community and always helping out in whichever way he can. And even today, he was all embracing when he said, you have anything, you come to us and, we can work together. So clearly, he's playing a design thinking role, weaving a fabric of a far larger consulting platform than what we have built so far. So maybe, you guys can join and, work with Nihilent. I'm sure, we can build a bigger fabric. So thank you, LC. And I'll touch base with you because I had a lot of questions, but because I teach design thinking as a concept at a couple of campuses. And BlackBerry obviously is a very prime case with the Harvard case study on that, on design thinking. And the question there was the same. You have people holding the BlackBerry and BlackBerry just leaves them in the lurch. And what do you do? So, but we'll come back. Maybe, we can build a story out of it. So thank you so much, LC. And, even after the session is over, all those who who want to socialize can still stay back and we can talk for a few minutes if Chandan's Zoom session allows.
It would, for sure. Thank you, Anuj. Elsie, I would just request if you can unshare this so that we can have
The screen, yeah.
all everyone, and rest, if all of you can just switch on your video. We'll just take a quick picture of all of you. Elsie, if you can just unshare it, maybe just stop sharing for now.
Not very good, because they don't use. Let me try.
Should be right at the top.
No, it will be at the, if you're using a laptop, it will be at the bottom.
No, I'm on desktop. I'm on Apple.
Oh yeah, I'm on the Apple as well. So on the top, there will be view options. You can say stop sharing the screen.
There is a back to meeting, join, schedule.
I think I can. I think I can. I can stop it.
Brilliant.
I just realized I can.
Much better,
Yeah.
Yeah, if all of you can just put your videos on, and it's very heartening to see everyone from all different chapters. And Elsie, again, another blessing in disguise during the current time. At least now we are able to have people across different chapters. And there are representatives from various other chapters that we have today.
Wonderful.
So I'm just taking a picture. And the next one. There we go.
You are on more than one page.
Yes, so I've taken picture for both the pages. Yes.
Super.
Right. Thank you very much. And we can continue for people who have time. We can spend some more time.
And my mail ID again, lcs@nihilent.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
everyone.
Thank you very much, Elsie. Thanks for your time.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Elsie.
It's good to see people like Sunil there. Sunil Singhal, is he still there? Gone.
Did see Som, I don't know.
Yeah,
Som is still there. Hi, Som.
Yeah,
My God, I'm seeing you after 32 years or something like that.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. 85.
God.
1985 we met last.
And Bala is it? My God, yeah.
Great talk, Elsie. It was very nice.
Thank you so much.
Very stimulating.
Ah, thanks. You are sitting in the beautiful place here, Vancouver.
Yes, yes.
Must come and visit you.
Must.
See, yeah.
COVID has given us out of the way.
So, Praveen, how are you?
I need to come back to your IMCI meet next time at the Royal Yacht Club next time.
As soon as we lift the COVID.
Yes, I had a good time last time. You and Suresh Matre were there. I enjoyed.
Great.
Praveen, you're still looking intellectual self.
Sorry?
I'm saying you're looking your intellectual self.
Yeah, I'm also intellectual. I've got a bun at the back now.
Yeah. Then you qualify for creative nowadays.
Yeah, I wanted to share that, even in 1990, we, you had this thing about design thinking even then. When we made the user, the menu which was in the form of a filing cabinet, and we did that on a DOS without a GUI also, because we wanted people not to be afraid of computers. That was the theme of our software. Are you hearing? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. So that was also design thinking, rudimentary, but we did that in 1990.
So what Elsie was saying was correct. हम लोग over engineer तब भी करते थे. I remember EX and Campus.
This was a thing that you didn't have those normal menus and everything. Our menu was in the form of a filing drawer cabinet. Like
they were hard coded. Yeah, there was no language to give you windows.
Suresh, if you can also unmute yourself.
Where's Suresh?
And LC, one thing you asked a question early on that, what's the difference between there and here, And to answer that question in an example, you can look at Tesla. The fellow makes driverless cars and even makes passenger ships for the moon, and yet the markets reward it like anything. So that's the difference between there
No,
and
but
here.
Praveen, that's also by design. If you see now these, these are the things actually when we discussed, 3-day course is really worth it. See, it's not accident that these 5 companies are all in America and they are almost a syndicate at some level. So if you see Singularity University's Vice Chancellor, he is also the chief of creativity at Google. Okay. Then you have Facebook CEO, you have Google CEO, you have all these guys. Annually, they meet for strategy session or thinking session, somewhere in San Francisco or a designated place. And they will talk about the future of AI and things which we know little about. And generally speaking, in general public, they have heard about it, but they know little. And then, there's a hype created that this is the future. So let us being that by 28 or 26, the human will be replaced by AI-driven robots. So AI will replace now. This is a bullshit, yaar. What replace? If I give you the prediction of 65, the tea was to be served in 81 by robo. And we are in 2020. We are still waiting for the tea. So I'm saying, sometimes, it's all orchestrated to create thought leadership. So America is very good at it. Understand that. And all these companies now, see what I was talking about, Tesla. So the hype created the environment. Why did they make the most expensive car? Because they aimed at people who could afford that luxury of contribution to environment. Some low income group, they're not going to bother. They will take the cheapest car. They will go and still buy Honda, right? So very, very beautifully crafted design, emotional design, which helps them to get premium from the market. So Praveen, all that rocket and everything adds to the image. I mean, you look up because you don't equal him to you. So that is the difference. They continuously, that's what is happening around all these top companies. That's what they're doing. They are creating hypes on which they thrive. हिंदुस्तान में प्रॉब्लम यही है, वी थिंक सो स्मॉल, दैट्स द प्रॉब्लम. हमने कंपनी शुरू नहीं करोगे तो सेकंड राउंड में, थर्ड राउंड में पैसा बना आउट.
LC, we should do this course 3 दिन वाला इंटरनेशनली करते हैं.
No, you should do that, absolutely, yeah.
You should do it. I think with ICMCI, I can pull in a lot of international delegates.
See, what happens, there's a lot of physical things that we do.
Correct.
So workshop mode mein. That becomes a little difficult because you're not able to really interact the way we should be. वो टेबल पे जाके जो बात करने में मजा वो नहीं आता.
वो कोविड उठने के बाद करेंगे ना.
कोविड के बाद तो 100% है.
ग्राउंड वर्क कर लेंगे.
I will announce along with you.
We'll prepare a product, whole this thing session, and I'm planning to host one ICMCI session for about 3 days, international conference. तो जब वो होगी उसके साथ ही combine कर देंगे तो people who come can get trained on this. So we sell a MDP plus a India session.
I did a 3-hour session in Silicon Valley.
Okay.
And we had massive attendance and very senior people. They were all quite aghast. They're all engineers. Contrary to what our belief is, they're actually engineers, most of them. And, to hold an audience for 1 hour there, and organizers have told us that, look, we can bring the audience in name of design thinking, but holding them for 2 hours is your problem.
Yeah.
The next 2 hours. And they were there for 4 hours because we're discussing and discussing.
Oh, this is the current
absolutely
the current flavor of the season, so we should do it. I don't know if you're aware, मोहन कंचरला को जानते हो क्या?
नहीं.
ये अपना TCS में था, चेन्नई में. He is writing a book on design thinking.
अच्छा, very good.
So he's already written a basic book on consulting, and now he's working on design thinking, and he's working around it. मैं करीब 2 साल से ये सब्जेक्ट पढ़ा रहा हूँ on design.
Very good, very good. Good. You're with the time.
हाँ, but clients के साथ बहुत फायदा होता है इसका.
नहीं बिल्कुल.
When you walk through your potential customers with this design thinking, they have generally not seen this non-linear thought and flowing linearly.
No, you're right. Absolutely.
So it helps a lot.
चलो ठीक है. Organize करो. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone. Friends.
Thanks for being there always.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, Anuj.
Bye everyone.
Thank you. Bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye, Mahesh.
Good job.
Thank you.
Bye, Chandan.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye, Anuj.
Bye.